All right, before my question, I do want to read this, because when I was doing my research on Clint, I was trying to figure out a way to explain Clint Johnson, as we all know him. He traveled with a great group of guys. Rick Smith, you guys would pull in on that big rig, and Rick Smith would usually get out of it. Merlin Fairbanks, Bud Pauley sometimes, Gary McDaniel most of the time, Bud Monroe once in a while. And any time that rig pulled into a rodeo, we had our work cut out for us. We were going to try to win anything. But I was thinking, to be a legend, there's more to being a legend than just being great. He's a great bronc rider. But it's that unassuming part that I talked about when we met in college, all those years before he won all that stuff and got in all those Hall of Fames and all the buckles and all the world titles. It never changed Clint Johnson, not one bit. He's the same guy right here as he was 44 years ago, I guess it was. Maybe, I guess it was. So when I was looking all through what I was looking for, I came upon an article that they wrote about Clint in the Oklahoma Tribune about 10 years after he'd won his last world title, and it talked about, they were trying to explain what Clint Johnson was like himself, and so I'd like to read it, and then we'll talk. So he started by saying, toss all the material aspects away, all the world titles, all the trophies, everything, and this is who Clint is. He said there's a calm about him that's similar to a Friday evening, a sense that all burden is lifted and peace is ahead. He also said, I've watched him pull porcupine quills out of a curious calf, and I've seen him trashed around in a chute by a sorrel mare, and he never ever once uttered an ear-covering word. He said, I know for a fact he drove most of one night from a rodeo in South Texas back to Amarillo and held to an offer to teach a young cowboy about riding broncs. He also said those qualities, they're not chronicled on a judge's sheet. It's not a 50 for the horse, and it's not a 50 for the rider. It's all about the essence of being a great cowboy. And Clint Johnson, when you look at the becoming a legend, there's a lot of boxes you have to check to become to this point, and you've done it all, my friend. You've done it all. So congratulations. So I'm going to ask a couple of questions, and then I'll let you take over for the next hour and a half. I hope you wrote a speech. Couple, good, good. Okay, so my question, I was thinking about it, was there one, or who was one individual that you look back on through all those years that brought you into rodeo and made you want to be a bronc rider? Was there one person? Pick that up.
I don't think you can narrow it down to one person, but my brother Johnny, he was a bronc rider. He never admitted to it, but he was. But we grew up. My dad wasn't a bronc rider, but he had friends that were, and he always spoke real highly of Walt McVeigh and Charlie Crago and Sam Brownell, who was a 1917 world champion bronc rider, who was a brand inspector in Belfouche. And Sam Brownell actually, after being declared world champion at Cheyenne, was hired to ride Tipperary, who was Hall of Fame bucking horse at Belfouche, the roundup. And if he rode him, qualified, he had to qualify, he got $100, which doesn't sound like a hell of a lot of money, but. And he rides Tipperary, but he reaches down just before he quit bucking, because he rode him until they stopped. And he grabbed the rein with his other hand. And no, the judges didn't see it. And Sam told the judges, hey, I'm disqualified. And he didn't get his $100. But the people of Belfouche got together, put $100 together, and gave it to Sam.
That's a great story. That is a great story. So, well, in bronc riding in South Dakota, I mean, South Dakota's known for bronc riding.
You want to be somebody in bronc riding, spur a good bronc somewhere.
Yeah.
You'll get famous pretty quick.
Yeah, yeah, especially up there. There's guys that I always said they'd stay home. You'd see them once or twice a year up there at those rodeos when you go up there, and they never traveled, and they were amazing bronc riders. It was tough to get checks up there in South Dakota.
Always a good bunch of kids there. There's a good bunch now.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
probably the one thing that really helps those kids and helped me and the guys before me were people like Jim Corco, Jim Sutton,
Sure.
Pete Longbreak, Johnny Holloway, guys that had practice
Absolutely.
horses and loved bronc riding.
All right, my next question, what's the rankest bronc you ever got on? And I listed a few down here, but I don't know if they even fall in your category, because I never really saw you think you ever got on a rank one.
Probably I drew too good to draw anything rank. I think probably one of the best horses I ever rode was Alibi. The first time I had him. And he bucked me off one time. After that, I probably had him half a dozen times, but the first time I had him, he could have bucked on the stage. He really bucked. Dale Hall's Alibi.
Dell Hall's Alibi. How about there was a horse of Pete Logan's called Lonesome Me, right?
Yeah, Lonesome Me.
Did you get on that?
Try Me.
Try Me, yes, Try Me.
I was 50-50 with Try Me.
50-50.
Yeah, cost me $50,000 the second time.
Sorry I brought that up.
Me and Sam didn't have the same problem. I didn't qualify.
Kind of peeled the scab off there, didn't
Yeah,
I?
kids.
Sorry about that, Clinter. And
I
my
think
third,
I won $300 when I rode her and lost $50,000 when I bucked off.
it's not about the money. We all used to say that, right?
Yeah, fairly.
And my third question, you know, when you look at becoming a legend, you join an elite group of individuals. People like Larry Mahan, Sean Davis, Casey Tibbs, Harry Vold, Michael Gahn, of course the great Benny Binion, and I can't list them all. All of them are really, they're the pillars that our sport is built upon. What's it like to join that group?
Well, I really, it's hard for me to fit into that group very good. I mean, the real legends, they're at table 20, and Bob Dahlman back here. I'm just kind of a late comer to the party. I don't know if I fit in there, but those are the people that you looked up to your whole life, and you aspire to be better, and ride better, and be a better person, and try and give back to rodeo, because all those people, all of them have. They've given us so much in rodeo, so much to the NFR. You know, Binion family and Benny Binion.
Yes.
We wouldn't have this rodeo here if it wasn't for them.
That's right. That is right. And Sean Davis and Michael Gahn, and you just go on and on.
Yeah, Michael and Paula, how much have they given? What a wonderful hospitality we had tonight, and always
Yes.
from the South Point. Greatest in the world.
Well, Clint, I'm gonna shut up and let you take over for a bit.
You're doing pretty good, don't you?
I'm getting out of the way now. Congratulations,
Thank
my
you
friend.
very much.
Clint Johnson.
I want to thank God first. It's a wonderful day. Excuse me. I don't really, this word to me doesn't really belong to me. It belongs to the guys I traveled with. Guys like Butch Knowles. We all wanted to be as cool as Butch. It's pretty hard to follow after he talks because he's the coolest guy in rodeo. And hell, he probably rode better than I did too. But I want to thank my family, my wife. The day I got married was my luckiest day. But I can't say enough about the legends that are already in this club. I was been fortunate enough to know each and every one of them. And they all contributed something to my life. Like I said, that table 20 over there, Keith Martin, gosh, there's nobody that put in more time and effort for the sport of rodeo than he did. And continues to. I was getting on a bronc one time at Caldwell, Idaho. Had a good horse. At that time, probably the only good horse Christian Brothers had, but ZX was his name. And Bud Paul and I rolled in there, and there wasn't many guys up that we knew. And I didn't really look for any help. And I was fortunate enough to get some pretty good help. Sean Davis came over to shoot and give me a hand. I was sure proud of that. Thank you, Sean. But everyone that's on that list has a story for me. But Bob Tallman, I know Bob's back here. He will embellish things a little bit. And only one time did I know that he embellished. He told the crowd there in Nampa, Idaho, that I could ride a bronc and hook a sheep and roll a cigarette all at the same time. And I've hooked a sheep and rode a few broncs, but I've never successfully rolled a cigarette in my whole life. So I know that story's total BS. Anyway, I want to thank all of you for coming out. And like I said, the real legends are the guys I rodeoed with, and Butch made note of them. Butch is one of them. I want to thank the Cowboy Channel too. My daughter's got a pretty good job there. But you know, they had this 100 Days of Rodeo. And I thought this summer I was watching nearly all those rodeos, and I thought for a minute that Brad Jermanson and I were rodeoing together again. And thank you, Brad, for coming. I want to thank J.C. Trujillo and Margot for coming. J.C. and I served on the board of directors during a little bit of a, I'd say probably a tough time for the PRCA, but we became good friends. And I appreciate his friendship every day. But thank you to this wonderful crowd, and thank God we live in the greatest country in the world. Thank you.
Well deserved, and now next year when you guys come, you're gonna have to set at table number 20. That's awesome, with some big legends over there. Clint Johnson.